Okay, so I'll just give the cue. Three, two, one.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I, Madhuri Pal, on behalf of entire ATL team, we are welcoming you on this very special session of online business finance. So, as we have entered into the seventh week of the ATL Tinkerpreneurs Summer Boot Camp, now we are approaching towards the finance aspects of the entrepreneurial skills. And today we have Dr. Prashant R. Nair, our special RMOC Regional Mentor of Change from Tamil Nadu, who is going to take a session on the business finance. And he will be giving all the nuances of the finance which can help you to take your venture to the next level. So as we coming down to the our approaching towards the summer boot camp, we hope that this session will be provided you the enough kind of guidance which help you in your further projects and digital venture. Thank you, everyone, and I will now hand over the session to the Prashant sir. Prashant sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhuri, Nabha Surur, Varya Srivastava, and other folks at the Atal Innovation Mission team. Dear students, faculty members, mentors from the length and breadth of this country participating in this Tinkerpreneur initiative. A very good morning to all of you. Let me just play my slides. Just give me a minute. Are you able to see my slides? Is the slide visible?
Yeah, it's just yeah, no, right now, sir. Yes, sir, perfect.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So, dear children, as was mentioned by Madhuri, we have reached week 7 of the Tinkerpreneur Initiative, this wonderful program, and we're going to start with some basics about business finance, which I will try to cover in the next 30 to 40 minutes. Just about introducing myself, I'm Dr. Prashant R. Nair. I have been associated with Atal Innovation Mission in a voluntary capacity as a regional mentor of change for the last 3 years. It's been a wonderful experience to contribute. I'm employed in India's #1 private university, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, which is in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu state. So that's about me. I thought I should, give you some idea about this, what this event is going to achieve. I'm sure you all have a wonderful idea from the various sessions, but I wanted to focus that, this Tinkerpreneur initiative is really, really unique. The idea is, to make you folks, children in schools, to be able to get the skill set to become an entrepreneur, to become a startup founder. And I think that's extremely important. I want to stress upon that. See, today India is arriving as an innovation destination throughout the world. In the last 5 years, there has been a sea change in India's ranking, as also the perception in the entire world with respect to the innovation. From a position of 81 5 years back, today India is in the ranking of 48 in the global innovation ranking. That's as of 2020. And the Atal Innovation Mission has played a very stellar role in contributing to this climb for the country towards this innovation ranking, this wonderful position of being 48th in the world. And I'm sure this is only going to improve year on year. Today, you folks are part of, more than 7,500 Atal Tinkering Labs have changed the demography, not the demography, the skill set, so as to speak, in contributing to this innovation ranking. So the Atal Innovation Mission has played a very important role through these tinkering labs to make you students, upskill you students, and that's one reason why India is climbing up. We have more than 40 lakh students who have been benefited because of these tinkering labs. And Tinkerpreneur is the major, or rather the flagship initiative along with that marathon with respect to the mission. So you are all winners. First thing I want to stress is that each one of you is a winner. You represent this 10,000 crowd, represents the cream of this country with respect to the school children who are going to drive innovation, who are going to become entrepreneurs and change the face of this country. Now, I want to do a very, very quick recap of this, the curriculum that you have been trained on in the last 6 weeks. So I want to quickly summarize what you have done. Week 1, you looked at more than 22 different skills. Some of them were simple skills, some of them were intermediate skills, some of them were advanced skills. Make it very simple, like a QR code, or using machine learning, or using IoT, or artificial intelligence, or making an app, or making a website. It was varied. Week 2, you used these digital skills, you combined, amalgamated these skills and made some small product, digital product, using and leveraging these multiple skills, combining them. Week 3, the product that you made, you refined it. When you say refine, it is polishing it, making it attractive, adding information about it, adding user information, adding features, making it something that is attractive to others. So that's what happened in the first 3 weeks. In the 4th week, you focused on building a business model. Business model is very important because you need to understand who is your customer. You need to understand what is the value proposition of your product. Is it solving a problem? Is it solving some issue? Is there a market? Are people going to buy it? So those things through the canvas you have been able to identify in the week 4. Week 5, you used this and made some collaterals for marketing. You made a nice flyer, a brochure, or a pamphlet. You had a brand, you put a brand logo, you added some taglines, you added some marketing information. Then you decided, okay, I have a digital product. Now I want to promote this. How do I promote this? Can I use Facebook? Can I use social media channels? Can I use app channels, mobile app channels? Can I use search engine optimization? You looked at various channels to sell these and also publicize these flyers, these brochures, these pamphlets that you have created. Now, this is very important because Tinkerpreneur, you are focusing on a digital product. And today the world is encompassed by this digital revolution. The digital channels reach every nook and corner of not only this country, but the whole world. I'll give you a simple example. You take a simple social media application like Facebook. Facebook is a social media channel. My dear students, do you know that there are 2.6 billion people on Facebook? 1 out of 3 people in this planet has got a Facebook account. You can imagine the reach of that social media channel. You take YouTube, 2 billion users. So the reach of these social media channels, online channels, is tremendous. And today Facebook, people say, is the largest media company in the world. But very interestingly, Facebook does not create any content. The content is created by you and me. That's the beauty of technology. In the 6th week, you learned how to create a simple online store. So you had a business plan. Now you are building your online store. An online store where you are able to sell your product, your digital product, where customers are able to see your product and buy. And today, the world is full of online marketplaces. A Chinese company called Alibaba sells more products in their store, which is totally online, a virtual store, more than all the Walmarts throughout the world. See the impact. Walmart, as you know, is like a big bazaar in India. Walmart is the largest retailer in the world. Huge shops, you see them in American cities like Los Angeles or New York. They're huge. But Alibaba, an online retailer, an online marketplace, sells more than all the Walmarts. That's the beauty of technology. That's the beauty of digital advances, the digital technology. So that's what you did in the 6th week. You learned how to make an online store. You learned how to integrate them with an online marketplace. You learned that probably you can connect to these online marketplaces like Amazon or eBay or Alibaba and so on. Now coming to this 7th week, business finance. We will see various things about why this is important. Week 8, of course, you're going live. Week 7, you are learning about business finance. Week 8, you're going live with your business, and week 9, you're pitching to the investors. So this is the story of the Tinkerpreneur. Now, why is finance important? Business finance means you are learning how to manage your money. The science of managing your money is business finance. How to use that money on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. So it is short term, medium term, and long term. How do you use the money that comes? Now you have a digital product, you have put it onto a website, you have put it onto an app, you have started selling, people have started buying, you started getting money. Now, how do we use that money? How do we deploy that money? How do we use it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis? And that requires what is known as accounting. You need to account for this. Now, why this is so important? Now, I told you in the beginning of this presentation that true, India is becoming a huge hub for innovation. India is a huge hub for startups. The idea of Tinkerpreneur is at the end of the Tinkerpreneur boot camp, you have the tools and tackles to be a startup founder, an entrepreneur. But do you know, dear children, out of 100 startups that come, more than 90 of them fail. I'll repeat, out of 100 startups that come, almost 90 of them fail miserably. 9 of them somewhat survive, somehow manage. Chalta hai, we will try. Somehow they manage. And only one startup out of 100 becomes a very super successful company. For every Myntra that you know, for every Flipkart or Snapdeal that you know, for every Zerodha that you know, there are 100 Myntras that failed. 90 Myntras that failed, rather. For every Flipkart, there are 90 Flipkart-like companies that failed. Why does this happen? And I told you, India is climbing on the startup. In fact, India is the third in terms of the startups that are coming in the world. Number 1 is US, second is United Kingdom or England, third is India, China, and Israel are in the third spot. But even though there are so many startups coming, As I mentioned, 100 startups come, only one becomes super successful, 9 of them somehow manage, 90 of them fail. And believe me, mind you, probably 90 of the ones that failed had excellent ideas, had best ideas, but they failed. Why does that happen? One of the most important reasons is that they did not properly plan their finances. They expanded too fast without figuring out how to use the money. They did not have proper cash management. They did not know how to maintain their cash properly. They expanded without planning, uncontrolled growth. They did not price their products properly. And perhaps they did not have enough money, but they started expanding like crazy. So this is one of the most important reasons why startups fail. They don't know how to manage their finances properly. They need to use the finances in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term. So that's probably one of the most important reasons why startups fail. So once you finish the Tinkerpreneur training, you launch your digital product, you need to know how to maintain these finances. The money that is coming inside and the money that is going outside. And for that, you need to account. Accounting is maintaining your funds, your cash, the money in your cash with you, the money in the bank, making purchases, giving salaries, running the business, pricing, advertising, all the money that comes inside and the money that goes outside comes under accounting. And when you are accounting, you are able to track how much of money is coming inside, that is the income, how much of money is going outside, that is the expenditure, and also you can take decisions. Based on that, you can decide, okay, this much money is coming, this much money is going. Okay, do I need to buy an extra server? No, I don't have the money. I'll do that after 3 months. Make decisions. And also, you are required to do this to ensure compliance with government rules and regulations. Now, how does this accounting cycle work? As I mentioned, your online store is there, you are getting money, you are getting revenue or sales, you are spending money, both revenue is there, both expenses there are transactions happening. Either the transactions are you are receiving money or the transactions that you are giving money. But all these transactions need to have documentation. I will come to that. You need to have purchase orders, invoices, receipts. I will explain each of these little later. So every transaction, you have documents, business documents that you have to maintain. Meticulously, you have to maintain. Not only that, you have to make records. See, after 2 months or 3 months or after 1 year also, you may need to know where you spend this money. So you need to journalize. You need to write down, I have spent this much money on buying servers. I have spent this much money on travel. I had to go to meet a customer. I had to take a train ticket charges. So every expense, every money that is going out, every amount that is coming in has to be journalized with a narration where you describe what that is, and it is entered into what is known as a ledger. In a ledger, you maintain the money that is debiting, getting minused. You maintain the money that is getting credited, added. Credit is getting, debit is minusing or giving. All that you have to maintain. So I will repeat, when you are doing an online business, you will have transactions, you will be giving money, spending money, you will be getting money, you will be getting revenue. Both revenue is there, both expense is there, But these expenses, you need documentation. You need to make purchase orders. I'll come explain that. You need to make receipts. You need to journalize, write down what is this expense? What is this revenue? I got money from this customer. He bought two licenses of my software. This much money I got. I bought a server. This much money I paid. All that is journalized. It is entered into a ledger. In the ledger, the debit and credit is there. From this ledger, you create what is known as the financial statements, which I will explain. So this process of accounting, where you are keeping all the records of transactions, is very, very important for you to track your business, maintain your business, and move forward. Now the first document, purchase order. What is a purchase order? Somebody wants to come to your digital website. Suppose, just let us assume, right? Somebody, you are selling Apple iPhones online. Just take an example. Somebody wants to buy Apple iPhones in bulk from your website. That customer who wants to buy Apple iPhones from you will raise what is known as a purchase order. In the purchase order, they will give their address, they will give their contact details, they will say that I want this many numbers, this is the cost, the price that I can give, this is how I will give the payment, and this is when I want all the items to be delivered. That is a purchase order. Goes from the customer to the seller. So first step, somebody wants to buy from your website, they raise a purchase order, they send you a purchase order. The purchase order will have all details of the address, the place where it is, how many items are needed, what is the product, how many, what is the price that you will be willing to pay, how you want the payment, and so on. Once you get this purchase order, you raise what is known as an invoice. Invoice is like a bill. You know, you go to a shop, they'll give you a bill, right? It's a bill. In the invoice, you will say, you are confirming what is written in the purchase order. You are saying that this is the things that you have given. This is how we want our payment. This is when we will deliver to you. This is the cost that we both have agreed upon, the price that we have agreed upon, and you send it back. The idea is both of you are on the same page. Because purchase order comes from the customer, invoice comes from the seller, and the information will be mostly identical unless there are some small changes. Normally there will be no changes, but mostly it will be the same. So you as the seller will raise an invoice and send it to the customer, saying that this is what you have asked me, this is the bill for what you have asked, this is the terms of the payment, this is my bank account, these are the details, I will deliver. Maybe the customer would have told, I want this in 15 days. Then you will say in the invoice that I'm sorry, I may not be able to give you in 15 days. I may need another 5 days because we are in a pandemic situation. So there is an agreement between the seller and the customer through purchase order and invoice. Now, invoice also has one more thing. The invoice is a reminder to you that you have to pay. So once you pay up, the seller will make what is known as a receipt. The receipt says that I have got this much money from you. This much money has come. It has come through cash. It has come through check. It has come through money order. It has come to NEFT or online transfer. All those details. It's a receipt. And this receipt has to be maintained. Now, I told you when you are having transactions, all these documents are very important. Whether it is an invoice, whether it is an expense receipt, whether it is a purchase order. They have to be all maintained by both the buyer and the seller. It's needed. Now there is something called a payable and a receivable. Payable means, suppose you are buying an iPhone. it is costing 60,000 rupees. You do not have the money to pay upfront 60,000 rupees. You are a customer, you don't have 60,000 to pay immediately. You will talk to him and say, I will now give you 10,000 rupees upfront payment, and the remaining 50,000 rupees I will pay in the next 10 months in installments of 5,000 each. So you are buying an iPhone, 60,000 rupees, you pay 10,000 rupees upfront, right? Remaining 50,000 rupees, you pay in 10 installments of 5,000 rupees each in the next 10 months. So for you, it is a payable because you have only paid 10,000 out of the 60,000. The remaining 50,000 you are paying in 10 installments of 5,000 each. So it is a payable for you, and for the seller, it is a receivable. So any payment that is not made upfront becomes a payable or a receivable. It is like a loan, not exactly a loan, but it is a payable or a receivable. You are bound and you are liable to pay that money back. So you have bought an iPhone, 60,000 rupees iPhone. You have taken 10,000. Only you have paid him. Remaining 50,000 you should pay back. It's like a debt or a loan, and it is payable from your side. It's an account payable from your side. You are going to pay in 10 installments of 5,000 each. Whereas for Apple, the shop that is selling the Apple iPhone, it is a receivable. Every month for the next 10 months, you will receive 5,000 rupees from this customer. So please understand the difference between payable and receivable. Now coming to what I told you already, revenue and an expense. Revenue means money coming inside. Expense means money going outside. Very simple. Revenue is money coming inside. Expense is money going outside. And what are these revenues? Where do you get the revenues? The revenues come from your sales. You are selling Apple iPhones from your website. You sold 100 Apple iPhones. Each phone was 60,000 rupees, but people only gave you 10,000. The remaining was an installment. So you're supposed to get 100 iPhones into 60,000 rupees, but you have only got 100 into 10,000 rupees. That is the cash that you have. The remaining 100 into 50,000 is accounts receivable. But that is all both part of your sales. So you get money through sales. You get money through investments. Maybe you put some money in the bank. That money in the bank will get you some interest. That is also a part of the revenue. You also put a fixed deposit. You got so much of money last year. So you thought, I want to save this money. I'll put it in the fixed deposit. That fixed deposit will also get you interest, and that also adds to your revenue. Then there is something called royalty and licensing payments. I'll give you an example. Whichever city you are in, you go to a Domino's Pizza to have pizza. You go to a McDonald's to have burgers or stuff like that. Now, when you go to the shop, it says McDonald's. But please understand that McDonald's shop is not owned by the McDonald's company in San Bernardino, California. It's a franchisee of that San Bernardino company called McDonald's. You go to a Domino's Pizza. It is not owned by the Domino's Pizza, which is in Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's a franchisee. Some local entrepreneur is running that McDonald's, running that Domino's, and they are giving some sort of licensing. It's a licensing. So every year they are running the McDonald's. They may be paying say 20% or 30% of all their revenue to McDonald's for using that brand of McDonald's. It's like a license. And they maintain all the quality checks that a McDonald's restaurant should have, the furniture, the food items, the menu, they should maintain it. But this is what is known as royalty or licensing payments. Franchisee model, because you are using that McDonald's intellectual property, you are using the McDonald's brand name, you are using the McDonald's formula for making burgers or whatever stuff that they sell in McDonald's. Same way for Domino's Pizza. Why? Even if you go to a Marriott hotel in your city, it's not owned by a Marriott company. Some local person is using the Marriott brand name, using the Marriott this thing, and they are paying some licensing cost or royalty or whatever to Marriott. So these are the sources by which you get revenue. You can also go to the bank and get a loan. That also becomes revenue, and add it to your business. That also becomes revenue. But that's not a good thing to do. You know, taking more and more loans is risky. So you plan accordingly. But revenue primarily comes from your sales, what you are selling. Maybe you may get some revenue from interest in the bank and account and fixed deposit. Revenue can come in some cases from licensing and franchising, and revenue can also come if you take a loan from the bank and add it to your business. But primarily these are the revenue. Revenue means anything that you are getting inside, money that is incoming to you. What is an expense? Expense is anything that is going out. You are paying up, you are spending money. That is an expense. The money that you are spending is an expense. So the expense can be fixed expenses, fixed or variable. Fixed means you know this much money will go out every month or every year. Now, these examples are only not for an online business, but for a normal shop. Suppose you have a small shop. Okay, you are having a shop that is selling mobile phones. Just take an example. Okay? Take an example. That building where your shop is located, you have to pay a rent to the owner. You have to pay a maintenance cost to the owner. You have to pay phone charges, electricity charges, water charges, tax, insurance. All these you have to pay. You have to pay salaries to your employees. If there are 4 salespeople, you have to pay them salary every month. So all these are fixed. Fixed in the sense that they don't change every month. They are probably stationary for maybe for 1 year or so. So salary, you know, you have 4 salespeople. Each of them is getting 20,000 rupees. So every month you have to pay 4 into 20,000, that is 80,000 rupees you have to pay on salary for 1 year. After 1 year, maybe these 4 employees, you have to give them an increment. So then the salary goes from 20,000 say to 21,000. Then the next 1 year you are paying say 21,000 into 4 every month, 84,000. So fixed cost is fixed for a good amount of time, generally 1 year, mostly 1 year. Even rent, you are paying for your shop say 3,000 rupees rent. 1 full year you pay 3,000 rupees. After 1 year, the owner will say, "Arey, now you have paid 3,000. You know, cost is going up. Now from next year you have to pay me 3,500." But that 3,500 rent you will pay for 1 full year. So these are all fixed expenses. Same way, paying salaries, paying rent, electricity, water, telephone charges. There is a fixed. These are all fixed costs. Taxes, insurance. Advertising sometimes is fixed, sometimes is variable. I will explain that. Now coming to variable cost. Variable cost will vary every month. I'll give you an example. You are buying, you are selling. Suppose you are printing bills. Bill, you're making a bill and you're printing. You need paper to print the bill. This month, you had to print 10,000 bills. Next month, there was a third wave hit us and lockdown happened. So you need to only print 10,000 bills. This is July month. July month is 10,000 bills. So 10,000 printouts you have taken. Next month, hope it never happens, but third wave happens and then there is a lockdown. You may have only printed 50 bills. So July month, you had 10,000 sheets of paper where you took printout. August month, you only had 500 or 50 sheets of paper where you took printout. That is variable. So many things are variable. Supplies, materials. Then suppose you sweep your, I'm just giving you an example, sweeper. July month, your shop is open all 30 days. Every day you call somebody from local and ask, please come and sweep this thing. So 30 days you have paid, 20 days you have paid the sweeper. Next month, it's a lockdown. Only 5 days, 3 days or 5 days you open the shop. So 3 days only you need to pay the sweeper. So these are all wages or production wages. So like that, these are all variable costs, right? Fixed is more or less fixed for a amount of time, like salary or like salary or rent or electricity charge, water charge, internet charge, phone charges, insurance, taxes are all usually fixed. Variable are things like supplies that change every month or something, like you employ a sweeper for 2 days this month, next month you employ for 20 days, or you print 10,000 sheets of paper, you buy 10,000 papers, next month you only buy 500 papers. So it varies. Then variable cost can also be that, you have a server. The server is not working. Server is not working. There was something wrong. It just happened. Right? So then you need somebody to come and repair the server. You need to do maintenance of the server. These things which are not in your control also add to the variable cost. Now, advertising can be both variable or fixed. I will give you an example. At the beginning of the year, you give a contract to a big company. Advertising company, say publicists, say that I will give you 1 crore. You run my marketing campaign. Whatever you do whatever you want. You do print ads, you do internet ads, you do digital marketing, you do television ads, you bring Shah Rukh Khan for your advertisement. That's all your problem. I will give you 1 crore. With that 1 crore, you do whatever you want. That is a fixed advertising contract. In such a case, it will become a fixed cost. Many cases, it's not like that. It's variable. Mostly it is variable because you decide, okay, now I want to spend this much money on newspaper ads. I want to put this many ads in the newspaper. After 2 months, you see, oh, no, this is not helping me. I'm not getting much sales. Then I shift from newspaper to television ads. I spend more money. So my advertising thing is variable also. So this is how advertising can be both a fixed cost or a variable cost. But both of them contribute to the expenses. Expenses is anything that you are spending. Mostly you are spending fixed. Sometimes you spend some amount of variable. Mostly fixed expenses will be more than the variable expenses. Now, finally, we are coming to the last part, the financial statements that you need to prepare. Simple things that you need to prepare. Right? Now, one more thing I want to tell you, since we are doing an online thing, you can also think, what will be my fixed cost for an online thing? You need to buy a domain, an internet domain, www.virtualtours.com. Right? For 1 year, you can buy a domain, or that domain will be a fixed cost. I hope you understand, because these are the costs for a physical business or a physical enterprise. But if you are even running an online business, which is the goal of the Tinkerpreneur, you will have some fixed cost. You will need to have an internet, you will need to buy the domain. You may need to have some software engineers to develop the website. Suppose you say, I have three software engineers are needed to develop the website. Every month you have to pay them salary. That again becomes a fixed cost. Then you may need to pay some, I don't know, maybe if you're starting a business, you may need to buy a server, because if you're having an online business and thousands of people are coming to your website, you need to have a server. That again will become a fixed cost. So for an online business also, you have to think in the same way. The fixed costs are those that are kind of the same for almost 1 year. After 1 year, they may slightly change. The variable cost will come as per the transaction. I'll give you an example. Suppose advertising. Now here in an online business, advertising is most likely to be a variable cost. You may decide, this month I will do a campaign on Instagram for my online business. So July month I go for an Instagram ad. I paid 10,000 rupees. Then what, in August I find out Instagram has not got me much customers. So then in August I decide I will go for an SEO, a search engine optimization, whereby I will pay Google and Google will give me some leads through the search engine optimization. So you in August your campaign was Google, search engine optimization. In September, you decide both of these things are not working. Instagram also, I have not got much of leads. Google also, I have not got. So then I will go for a Facebook ad. So July, you had a Instagram ad. August, you had a Google search engine optimization SEO. September, you had a Facebook thing. So it is variable. July, you paid some money to Facebook. July you paid it to Instagram. August you paid to Google. September you paid it to Facebook. So these are all variable costs. So see how the same idea of fixed and variable cost will also apply to your online business. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now coming to the statements. These are very, very simple statements. One is a cash flow statement. How much cash you have. You know, in finance, we say cash is like blood. You know, human beings, all of us cannot survive without blood. The blood has to circulate throughout our body. Only then we are alive. Otherwise, we are like a vegetable. There is no difference between us and a vegetable if there is no blood circulation. We cannot move. We cannot talk. We cannot do whatever we are supposed to do. Cash is similar to that. For a business, cash is like blood. Without cash, a business does not run. So a cash flow statement records the money, cash inflow and cash outflow. Cash coming inside, cash going outside. Now, when you take that cash flow for 1 year, that becomes an income statement or a profit and loss account. But that you have to take the cash flow for 1 year. And a balance sheet is something from a long-term perspective. Whatever assets you have built and liabilities, I will explain. Coming to the cash flow statement. A cash flow is a report of all the firm's transactions that involve cash. How much cash is coming in, money flowing in, and money flowing out. Normally, you take it on a daily basis, you take it on a weekly basis, you take it on a monthly basis, you take it on a 1 year basis. That becomes, when you take it on a 1 year basis, you get an income statement. So in the cash flow, as I mentioned, it is the money that is coming inside, money that is going outside. Every day you can make a cash flow statement. In every week you make a cash flow statement. Every month you make a cash flow statement. Every quarter, 3 months you make a cash flow statement. Every year you make a cash flow statement. The money that is coming in and the money that is going out. See, if you see this, cash received means you're getting the money through sales or interest or royalty or something, and cash paid for, the money that is going out. You're buying inventory, you're paying salaries, you're paying wages, you're giving, you're paying off your loans, you're paying income tax, all that comes under. So this is money inflow, cash received. This is money outflow, cash paid or expenses. And you see how much money you have got, some money in the bank. That means your revenue is more than your expenses. You do that for 1 full year. 1 full year, you get what is known as the income statement or the profit and loss statement. Actually, income statement is for 1 year. Profit and loss statement can be taken even for 1 month also. What is your total revenue? What is your total expenses? What is, if revenue is more than expense, that means you have a profit. When revenue is less than expense, that means you have a loss. It is as simple as that. So an income statement, which is essentially also called a profit and loss statement, is an income statement, compares the profitability of your business from this year and last year, but essentially it is a profit and loss account where you take your revenue for 1 year, you take your expense for 1 year. If the revenue is more than the expense, you have a profit. If the revenue is less than your expense, you have a loss. It's very simple. But again, profit and loss, you can even take monthly basis, you can take weekly basis, that is also possible. But when the profit and loss account is taken for 1 full year, the cash flow, you get what is known as an income statement. These are all very, very simple things that you can do, I can do, anybody can do. Just see this, revenue, sales, income, revenue, expense, all that you are marking. I'll just show you a simple Excel sheet also. And finally, the last statement, which normally you do once in a year, is the balance sheet. Balance sheet is more of a long-term perspective. Balance sheet will have your asset and the liability. When I say asset, means you start a shop. The shop, you make a building for your shop. That building is an asset. The furniture that you buy is an asset. The server that you buy is an asset. The computer that you buy is an asset. All these things are assets. Now, suppose you are licensing something, that the intellectual property that you have, that is also an asset. Suppose you are building, you have made a new technology. That technology you are licensing to people, like McDonald's or Domino's Pizza. You're saying that intellectual property is also an asset. So all the assets you have in one side. The liabilities means how much you have to pay, the loans or the accounts payable or the interest, taxes. So you have the asset and the liability on one corner. The difference between them is what is known as the equity, or the money that you have put into the business when you started the business. That's the meaning of, from your perspective, I think you only need to understand that the balance sheet is an asset and a liability. I will again repeat, cash flow means money that is coming inside, money that is going outside. Money flowing in, money flowing out. You take on a daily basis, you take on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, or on a yearly basis. When you take that cash flow statement for a yearly basis, you get your income statement. The income statement is nothing but your profit and loss account for 1 year, where you have your revenue, that is the cash inflow, the expense, that is the money outflow. And you take it for 1 year, that becomes an income statement. But you can take profit and loss account every week or every month, every day also you can do it. There is nothing. But only thing, the income statement is the PLN or the profit and loss account for 1 full year. These two are very, very simple to make. But balance sheet may be a little complicated because you need to understand your assets and liabilities also, and where the assets come from. For a digital business that you are starting, it is very simple, because you are not having any building, or you are not having any what is that, land or building. There are those things are not there. It's only probably the intellectual property that you may have, like you might have bought a license of Windows, you might have bought a computer, you might have bought a server. Those things fall under assets. And liabilities are, you have to pay taxes, you might have taken a loan from your father that you have to pay back. Those things become to liabilities. So just for your understanding, assets and liabilities, minus the asset and liability, asset minus liability, you will get your equity, or the money. Equity is nothing but the initial amount of money that you invested into the business. That is the meaning of the equity. So these are the primary statements that one may have. Finally, some tips for week 7. Of course, tomorrow's Tinkerpreneur Mentoring Hour, this will also be covered. The sessions for the from Sunday to next Friday will also cover. But simple tips that I want to quickly go through. You will see this in detail. Have a separate bank account. Do not mix it with your personal account. It's always confusing. Have a separate. If you have a business, do not mix it with your personal account. Have a separate bank account for the business. Learn how to, you will receive purchase orders from people who want to buy things from your website or your online store. You send them an invoice once you receive a purchase order. Once they pay you money, you give them a receipt. You deliver your electronic product, you can send it by email or WhatsApp or any online channel. You maintain all the bills and expenses. I told you, all the revenues you journalize, all the expenses you write down, you put it in you make it into a ledger. You make a cash flow statement, you record every transaction, you write a description. What is this? What is this revenue? What is this expense? Write everything in detail, maintain proper records. And once in from here, make a cash flow statement, maybe on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. At the end of the year, you convert that cash flow statement into an income statement or a profit and loss account. You can even have profit and loss account. The cash flow statement will give you that. And the profit or loss, you can take it in between also. And at the end of the year, you make a balance sheet. So this is the long story of business finance. You will learn most of these things in great detail in the subsequent session. I just wanted to give you a gist. I hope I've been able to give you an idea about this thing. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Prashant sir. As I can see on the live chat, there are only few questions which are relevant topic, I guess. So can you throw some light on the EMI concept? So one audience has asked that he wanted to provide EMI to his or her customers. So can you please share your thoughts on this?
So EMI stands for equated monthly installments. As I mentioned, I will repeat the same example. You want to buy an iPhone. An iPhone will cost you 60,000 rupees. Just assume that. You do not have 60,000 rupees to pay. What you do, you pay 10,000 rupees as an advance or a upfront payment. So out of 60,000, 10,000 only you have paid. You have got your iPhone. You have got your iPhone and you started using the iPhone. Now, the remaining 50,000 has to be paid. How do you pay? You pay in EMIs, equated monthly installments of 5,000 each for the next 10 months. So that is the meaning of EMI. Many people prefer EMIs because immediately you don't pay and you get the product. I mean, you got the iPhone, you started working using the iPhone, so there's no problem. But it's actually a payable from your side because you got the iPhone. Now you have to payable, and for the company it is a receiver. I hope I have answered this question.
Thank you, sir. One more question we can take up. One audience has asked that how they can test a product or an online. So I don't know, is it relevant to business? How to
Oh,
test
it's
and
not.
prevent?
It is not related to finance, but
Okay.
testing. I can throw some light on it. See,
Okay, sir.
normally when you are having a launch of the product, you do what is known as a test marketing. Test marketing means you have a new product that is absolutely new. So you can do what is known as a focus group. Focus group means you bring some people, make them sit in a room. Don't tell anything about what they are going to do. Don't kind of ensure that these people don't know each other. It should be a heterogeneous group of people, right? You make them sit in a room and then give your product and ask them to give their feedback. So this is a way for test marketing, and most of the major companies do this test marketing before they make a national product launch. It is like a preview. When you are watching a movie, I'm just telling you, somebody is making a multi-million-dollar movie. You have a preview for some few people who are literate in cinema. So they will look into the movie and say, oh, the movie is very good, but it's a little long. Can you cut down? So that preview will give them some idea, and then the movie director can go and cut down some scenes, do a little of editing, and make the product better. So that's what you should do as a test market.
Thank you, sir. One last question we can take. There's one
Yeah.
question has come from why it is necessary to go for purchase order, invoice, and then receipt. What is the importance?
So the importance of having these three documents is to be on the same page. The customer and the seller, both are on the same page. I will tell you how it works. You want, suppose you want to buy 10 iPhones and give it to your employees. Okay, you are having a small business. You want your sales people to have an iPhone with a smartphone. So you want 10 iPhones to be bought and you want to give it to your salespeople. So what do? You go to the iPhone company, the shop, and say that I want 10 iPhones. For that, you give a purchase order. You give a purchase order saying that I am so and so, I need 10 more iPhones. The cost is 60,000 per phone, but since I am buying phones, you give me in a discount, you give me for 55,000 rupees. So I will pay you 5,55,000. So I need 10 units of iPhone. Per unit, it is 55,000. I will pay you 5,50,000. I will pay the money through NEFT or money order or whatever the payment. I want the delivery to this place. This is your purchase order. Purchase order goes to the iPhone company. The iPhone company will look into that. Acha, theek hai, there is 55,000. He will ask his manager, can we give them 50,000 discount, 5,000 rupees discount for every mobile phone? He says, no problem. It's a bulk order of 10. Then the iPhone company will make a invoice. Invoice is a bill. This invoice will be sent back to you. The invoice will have the same details what you have given in the purchase order, but the same details in the sense it is like both of you are agreeing to it. Invoice will have, or the bill will say 10 10 iPhones, 55,000 rupees per iPhone, 5,50,000 must be paid by this bank account. This is the address and so on. So this is how purchase order and invoice work. Once you make the payment, you pay 5,50,000. You have got the mobile phone delivered. You have given it to your people, your sales force, 10 people. Then they will send you a receipt. Receipt says we have received your 5,50,000 by virtue of bank transaction. Thank you very much, and so on. So that you keep it with you. So this is the meaning of purchase order, invoice, and receipt.
Thank you, sir, for your brief explanation on the entire question related to the online business. And now we are almost coming to the time. Now we will wrapping the session. So it was very insightful session on the online business fans, and you have explained the minute details of the same. I hope that the audience has been benefited from this. And since this is available on YouTube Live, so all those who missed the session right now, they can they can log in our channel and they can watch it again and again. Thank you for attending the session, and I express my sincere gratitude to Prashant sir for taking a very nice presentation and session on the online business, and he explains what is required to make your digital venture a sellable product in the market. Thank you, sir, for joining us and being very supportive to our initiative, Atrial Tinkerpreneur. Thank you, and we will hope that we'll see you again. Thank you, everyone. That's the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhuri. All the best to the Tinkerpreneur. I want to tell all the students, please take time and submit all the assignments. You're really learning a lot of things. Whenever you have time, please submit the assignments also. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Good day.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.